know a little bit about who you are and then kind of like what led you to doing what you do now.
Absolutely. So, first, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your space with me, Gina. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in today. I know there was some confusion a little bit with when the live would be up today. So, hopefully, we get good
They'll start
views. If not, we'll
they'll
definitely
start
post
rolling
it.
in.
Exactly. And I'm on no time crunch, so I'm here for a while. For myself, I will say that I am a civil rights leader. I'm going on 11 years in this work. And my work has been dedicated to Black, Brown, and marginalized communities because I'm a Black woman in America, right? So there has been a target on my back since the day that I was conceived in my mother's womb. That's just what it is. Being Black in America, that's the reality. That's the plight. Unfortunately, due to the injustice faced by the Black community that was never, rectified, we now see that same exact harm happening to other communities, which includes the Brown community and marginalized communities. So that leads to the work that I do. Throughout my congressional campaign in California, which was the 41st district, people would often hear me talk about white supremacy is not YT supremacy. TikTok, gotta remember, YT supremacy is not about race or color. It is literally about ideology. So a Black person, a brown person, an Asian person, anybody can be a YT supremacist. Okay, it has nothing to do with the race or the skin color, and that is what we are seeing in America on today under this current administration. He is not responsible for the harm we are seeing, which we can dive into at another time, but I share when I have the space and opportunity. Trump is not responsible for the racism and the harm that we see in America. Trump highlighted the harm that is present in America. Okay. He's literally just a face. That man has no power. He has no authority. He's literally a weak person that is just the face of what we needed to deal with and address here in America. And if any of you are Christian like me, what that means is, like, as a Christian, I despise when I hear people blaming the devil for everything. Yes, the devil is real if you believe in Christianity, such as myself, but at the exact same time, people will move about life in their own desires, their own lusts, their own flesh, and then they'll blame the devil for it. The devil is not omnipresent, guys. So the devil is not responsible for a lot of the choices and the decisions we make that are negative. That is our own free will to do. That is the exact same thing with Trump and his administration. He did not cause people to become racist, to become anti-black. That's giving him too much credit and power. These people were already like that. He just allowed them to feel safe and to feel comfortable in expressing it. That is what's going on. So, saying all that to say, that is what led me to run for Congress at the time that I did. Um, I ran for a seat here in Southern California. That was a result of Prop 50. It's a lot of like political information, but just to try to sum it up, Prop 50 is a result of the gerrymandering that took place in the state of Texas. When the state of Texas decided to gerrymander its maps in favor of Republicans and also to perpetrate anti Blackness, our governor, Governor Newsom, decided, hey, let's put this up for a vote in the state of California. And if the California people decide they want to redraw our maps early, let's do that. Okay, and I say that because a lot of people are confused with what gerrymandering is. California did not gerrymander our maps. We made a decision. We took it up to the vote. We took it up to the ballot in November of 2025. And so, therefore, it's not gerrymandering. It was democracy. We made a decision as California voters. That is what we wanted. So we voted in favor of Proposition 50, which then gave us the opportunity to redraw our congressional maps early. The maps get drawn every 10 years. We did it early. Okay, so with that being said, that is where my seat opened up. That was District 41. We did not make any new congressional seats. California still only has 52 congressional seats, but it did redraw the maps, meaning some of the congressional maps shifted a little bit. And then for my district, it completely moved to counties. So what that means is in California, our congressional maps, again, we have 52. Each one, the goal is to have 750 to 850,000 people per district, right? And so with Prop 50, when mine shifted out of the county, what that means is it was in what was known as Riverside County, and then it shifted to Los Angeles County with a little bit of Orange County incorporated. And yes, the seat was under a Republican by the name Ken Calvert, and it shifted to Los Angeles County in a safe blue district, but it still was not gerrymandering because this is a decision of the California voters. We knew what the map was going to look like. We knew, how everything was going to shift. And we made a decision as voters exercising democracy and said, yep, this is what we want our maps to look like. And we want this decision to be made now instead of in 2030 when the map was due to be withdrawn. So it was only drawn early by a few years. So with that being said, I ran a very strong campaign that I'm very, very proud of because I was not prepared. I gave all you guys that to say I was not prepared to run for Congress when I ran for Congress. I was in my third year of law school, getting ready to graduate, which I did graduate April of 2026. But when this proposition passed in November of 2025, I said, you know what, I'm going to run for this seat because I am not satisfied with any of the elected officials currently in office, not Republicans ever. Like, I don't ever go for no Republican. But then the Democrats as well, I was not satisfied with them because they were not serving the people. They were not standing up for us. They were not fighting for us. They were not speaking out for us. They were not doing anything in the face of Trump and his administration. We see that constantly still happening today, right? And in the height of all of that, at the exact same time, we saw all of the harm that was taking place with ICE, harming our streets, TikTok, harming our streets. And so with that being said, me being here in Los Angeles County, I saw a lot of the harms and the effects of ICE from the very beginning, depending on where you're at in this country. We know that ICE, running through our streets is a lot more harmful than what the news and the media even shows. When you see it, firsthand, and you're seeing people being snatched off the streets firsthand, and things like that. So that is what caused me to run. And again, it was just a very exciting campaign, but it was a very stressful campaign. It was a very traumatic campaign. It was a very heartwarming campaign, but it was a lot of things, good and bad. I learned so much. I had not ever ran for a political office before. This was the first one. And it was, again, just important for me because being a civil rights leader, I needed the people to know the power that we have to stand up and to fight against the government, and to not be afraid of that, to not be concerned of the harm and the retribution that can come from that. Even as somebody running for office, I found myself arrested on two separate occasions, fighting
Wow.
three different cases. One of the cases have been dismissed. I'm still fighting two of the other cases. Um, Brutalized by police, batoned, all types of stuff happened during my campaign, but I wouldn't change any of it. We could dive into that, Gina, but just wanted to give you guys that backstory, people that have not yet learned of, what led me to this moment and how I met Gina and some of the other people here and got into the space and the place here on TikTok.
Well, thank you. Uh, that was intense. That was an amazing start to the interview, and just hearing kind of what led you here. And I think my first time that I had run into you, if I'm not mistaken, was on Sajida's panel. And I was like, man, she is amazing. Like, so anytime that I heard you in any space, like, I was like, okay, yeah, she's somebody I need to know her story. And then, when you were on Sajida's panel, you were running for your seat then, and just hearing you speak was amazing. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And you have people in the comments as well that were like, man, I'm guessing that they're in California or they are in your area, and they were disappointed that they didn't see your name on the ballot. So thank you once again for being here. So my
Gina,
first question.
if I could real fast jump in
Yes, of
with
course.
that. Yes, I running for office also allowed me to know where some of the breakdown in our education system is, which again, I already knew there was a lack in our education system. However, it was like it was good. So thank you guys, but it was also sad to see people from like all over America like disappointed when their ballots came in and I was not on their ballot because I was so confused because I'm like, baby, I keep saying I'm running for Congress in California's 41st district. Why did you think you could vote for me and you in Texas? Are you in Florida? Are you in New York? Like, and it was like beautiful for me that people supported me the way they did, but it was also like, oh my gosh, like this is how our government is capitalizing on people's ignorance, right? And there's nothing wrong with being ignorant, you guys. Ignorant just means to not know. Okay. But once you know and you don't do better, now that's a problem. Okay. So I'm not saying ignorant in a harmful way, but our government capitalizes on people's ignorance and people do not understand the different roles and responsibilities of their elected officials. And that in and of itself is a problem that I could not figure out right while you're already running the campaign. And backing up a little bit, when you run for Congress, if you guys did not know, you will typically prepare that run and work on that campaign for anywhere between 24 to 36 months for some people is
Wow.
like the baseline. And then for other people, they'll do 18 to 24 months. Okay. So that's a year and a half to 2 years. Understand that my campaign did all that it did in 6 months. Okay. California did not pass the Proposition 50 until the middle, like the third week of November, the week before Thanksgiving. So, yeah, the third week of November. Okay. And then you still had Republicans and people trying to fight it. And it was not even technically, quote unquote, finalized until January of 2026. Election day was June 2nd. So this was just short of 6 months that I ran a campaign as a first time grassroots candidate that should have been ran for the minimum at minimum of 18 to 24 months. Okay. So like it's monumental. And I say that because some people, that do understand politics will understand. That's why you heard like Harris when she, lost, and I say that lightly because she potentially won, when she lost against Trump. People aren't understanding that even when you are a known political name, such as Harris was, right, during her run, when you do not have the full amount of time to run your campaign, you can be the best candidate, you can be the strongest candidate, but it is harmful to you because you don't get to move throughout the district, the state, the country, and advocate for yourself because a lot of us rely on social media for information or the news or newspapers and stuff like that. But you got to remember that's not where everyone is at. Some people, no matter how influential you are on social media or viral moments and stuff like that, some people do not have social media or some people just simply will not ever see your content. So there were so many people that reached out to me after, like frustrated, like, oh my God, I did not know you were running. Oh my God, when I saw your name on the ballot, like I didn't have any idea who you were. So unfortunately, what happens is some people get their ballot, they're running out of time because maybe it's the last day to vote or they just have a limited amount of time, so they just fill in anything and everything they can, and more often than not someone will fill in a name that they recognize. So Shonique Williams was not a known political name to anybody. I've been in political spaces for going on 11 years, but I've been in these political spaces writing policies and legislation, not on the ballot. So some people that had no time, they voted for Linda ineffective ass Sanchez because she's been in Congress for 23 years, literally
Mm.
23. So it wasn't anything. And for my race, I'm gonna speak for my race. I didn't get voted out due to racism, colorism, any of the things that some other candidates do. For me, it's a matter of name recognition. And that's a whole nother thing that we can get into later, Gina. But I just want to say that because I myself saw that challenge in that time. And I know that as elected officials, candidates running, people in these spaces, we have to do a better job of educating our communities because we will think someone is aware of something, right? You know how people are like, oh, it's common sense. Well, everyone's common sense looks different, right? Like everyone's common sense looks different. As a Black person, I can assume that every Black household taught their children what I was taught as a Black child, right? Like we can't assume that. And a lot of times as Black and brown people, especially, we do get frustrated with our own communities because we think that they should know the same kind of information we know, but that's not always the truth. And that's why spaces like Saji or Caso and things like that, I love attending those spaces because there is grace in this space and there is education for Black and Brown community instead of just this forward thinking of like, oh, they should know and they absolutely got to know. No, some people literally grew up in homes or in school systems in communities where knowledge was withheld from them, or maybe the knowledge was being presented, but not in a way in which they could understand and articulate. So when people found out why I kept saying California's 41st congressional district meant you could only vote for me if you lived in the 41st district. If you lived in the 42nd district or if you lived in the 40th, you could not vote for me. And even Californians didn't understand that. They thought that whole time I was running my campaign that they could vote for me. So people was sending me pictures of their ballot like, Shonique, your name's not in there. And I'm like, oh yeah, da da da. Well, and finally got to a point where I would ask people, what city do you live in? Oh no, that city is not included. But mind you, in my post, I would always say California's 41st district. I would often put all the cities that were in the district, but I guess, reading is fundamental. Everybody didn't take the time to read. People still weren't understanding that theme. So going forward, when I run for office again, this will be things that I now know. I have to make sure I'm doing a better job in educating the community of, hey, this is not within your district. This is not within your area. I need you to figure out who lives in this district, who lives in this area. And the way to support me would be to reach out to them now, letting them know I'm going to be on their ballot.
Mm, okay. That makes sense. And I like that you had mentioned that we can assume things just because we come from that certain community. Because I was under the impression and the assumption that as brown people, we knew better than to vote against our own or vote in harm of our own people. And well, I was I was rudely awakened when this administration became, this administration. So now it's just like you had touched on it earlier, and you had said like white tea supremacy. It not only obviously is for the white tea people, but it also affects our communities as well as far as like mentally. I'm seeing a lot of our own people, vote against their own people, vote against their own dignity, their own resources, their own lands. Like how in your mind did you think or equate that this administration or this person was safe for our people at all? So I completely get it. I'm glad that you spoke on it. Thank you for that. So my first question is more towards like community and policy, is like policy focus. Um, how have your personal and professional experiences in your community shaped the specific policies you plan or have planned, or you're championing or you're lobbying for change? How have any of those experiences affected your personal life that you're now trying to champion those policies?
I'm so sorry. I missed the beginning of the question. It glitched
No,
a little
you're
bit. Can you
fine.
repeat it one more time?
Yes, ma'am. How have your personal and professional experiences in the community shaped the specific policies that you planned or are planning to champion going forward?
So going forward, the reason I always highlighted that I am a civil rights leader and not a politician throughout my campaign, no matter when I secure a seat in the future, that will still always be how I view myself. I won't ever view myself as a politician. I will always be a civil rights leader that works in politics. And the difference is people over politics, right? Like at any point in time, if you get to a space where you are placing politics over people, you should not be an elected office. That is my thoughts. That is my position, and I will stand on that. And I say that because what caused me to run is the fact that I came from a household of 9 kids. My mom was on welfare. There was, unfortunately, every form of child abuse you can imagine in my home. So that led me to foster care. I aged out of foster care. I was born in 91. So when I aged out of foster care at 18, um, there was not resources available. We have a little bit better resources available here in California now, but when you age out of foster care at the age that I did, at the time that I did in the earlier 2000s, you just you went into the streets. You went into homelessness if you didn't have anybody to live with, any family, friends, or loved ones, which is counterproductive because this is the society that said, hey, your mother or father or guardians are not qualified to be parents, so or guardians, so we need to take you from them and we need to pay somebody else to raise you and take care of you. So we already know you do not have a safety net, a support system. But when you turn 18, even though we fundamentally know that you are not yet an adult and cannot fundamentally take care of yourself, we are going to put you into the streets by yourself and you got to figure it out. That is, the same society that wants to, be pro life. But anyway, with that being said, all of those things led to different challenges in my life that ultimately led to a domestic violence relationship, which then led to a wrongful incarceration. So when people see me move passionately, right, because some people will see me yelling or cussing someone out, one of these elected officials or law enforcement, and they might think that, oh, she's doing too much. Oh, she's extreme. No, extreme. No, I'm passionate because I know the harms and the injustice of this system. I've had to fight through them. And because I've had to personally fight through them, through hell and high water, I will defend somebody else so that they don't have to go through those same things. And so that has helped shape the way that I move when it comes to advocating for legislation, and bills, advocating for different communities. Again, going back to advocating for Black and Brown and marginalized lives, that is what shapes the policy, the reforms, the initiatives that I wanted to push forward in Congress. All of this stuff is still available on my page, of what it will look like, and the things that I do want to bring forward in legislation. Unfortunately, at this time, I do not have I do not currently have a congressional candidate in the state of California that I am willing to bank on will do the fight, necessary and the hard work necessary to push forward what we need as a community. And that's just me, which in case anybody was wondering, I don't currently support any congressional candidate. And I'm not saying there is not one out there. I do not know of a California congressional candidate that is willing to put people over politics. And if I'm going to get behind somebody and if I'm going to support somebody, I need to know that you're willing to put your literal life on the line for the people, because that's exactly how I move and that's exactly how I operate. Unfortunately, that's not everybody. And that's not the majority, honestly, of our elected officials nor our candidates. And so I said all that to say is my lived experiences, my life experiences, helped shape those things, because in order to help an economy, in order to help a people that are struggling with, homelessness, high gas prices, inability to pay rent, inability to pay groceries, education, lack of education in communities, the need to have student loan forgiveness, all of these things. It doesn't matter what degrees you have sometimes, because when you don't have that lived experience, you have sympathy, yes, but empathy, no. Sympathy and empathy are not the same things. Because I came from all of these things, I can advocate for my community members different. And I do advocate for my community members different. So that has shaped the legislation I've helped push in the past. It's shaped the legislation I wanted to bring forward in Congress. And it's going to shape the legislation that I will bring to whatever seat I run for in the future.
Mm. I like that you made it personal, right? Because you would think that most people would want somebody who has experienced something or has firsthand knowledge about something, and then run for office. Too many times, and for the last, I always say, I have like this famous saying that I like to say, since the inception of colonialism and the last 400 or 500 years, we see that people who are in Congress or people who are running for Congress or whether political seats, whatever it may be, the people making decisions for us, basically, essentially, have nothing in common with your average day, quote American, or your average day folks. Like, there are people so out of touch with reality, yet they're the ones being elected. So, like, for me, it would make, like, it should be effortless that people would vote for women like you, because you've been through it. You know what it's like. You know what policies we need. You know what laws we need to change. So I'm glad that you made it personal, you made it your own, and then you ran with it. That's what we need. In my opinion, like we need you, like Shonique for president. That's all I gotta say. Like
Thank
Shonique
you.
for
It's
president.
frustrating. It's frustrating because it's not just the brown community that votes against their own best interest, Gina. I know that you're speaking from that space as a brown woman, but as a black woman, black people vote against our own best interests as well. No, not as common. I will say that, not as common, but we do. But see, for us, I guess I want to take that back and say that it's not as common for us to vote against our own best interests, okay, but it is common in the black community for us to not get our asses up and vote at all. You know what I mean? And that too is a problem because in my district alone, there was 42, 43% white, 41, 42% Latino, 11% Asian, and about 6% black, the rest other. If literally just the black community alone would have voted for me, I would have won. Right?
Wow.
Like just the black community alone, even though we only make up 6%. Why? Because in midterm years, people do not get up and vote. It's unfortunately people just don't. And for those that do not know what a midterm year means, that's a non-presidential election year. Okay, so during midterm year, just historically, people do not get up and vote. That's throughout America. That's not something related to the district or the state. That's just throughout America. Unfortunately, Congress is a position that is up for office every 2 years. No matter how many times elected officials, candidates, we keep telling people your midterm year sets up your presidential year, people do not listen. We keep
Mm.
explaining that. Your midterm year sets up your presidential year. Why do you think Trump and his people fought so hard to tear apart the midterm elections?
Mm-hmm.
Because our midterm year sets up our presidential year. With them bringing in and taking control of the House during our midterm year, okay, by them meaning Republicans, when they take over our House during our midterm year, even when there are strong candidates running for office in our presidential year, which is going to be 2028, it is going to be that much harder, that much more difficult for the party that's supposed to be for the people, right? The Democrats. It's going to be that much more difficult to get Democrats into office because look at it this way, like when you have people that are rooting for a certain team. Like I don't pay enough attention to like the World Cup, the Knicks championship, none of the stuff that happened, right? But when you have enough people rooting for you and cheering you on, even people that have been silent on the sidelines and stuff like that over the previous years, once they see their team has a great chance of winning, all of a sudden they get up and they're betting, right? They're putting money on these games, they're showing up, they're buying memorabilia, they're going to games. It's the same when it comes to our votes. When your mid during midterm, when your team wins, whether it's Republican or Democrat, you're amped up, you're ready, you're excited because your team has taken the House. So now when the new election presents itself in 2028, the presidential year where everyone does show up and vote, your house is stacked either with Republicans or either with Democrats. If it's stacked with the Republicans, guess what? That's going to cause more people to get up and to vote in favor of the Republicans, or it's going to cause more people to get up and vote in favor of the Democrats. You notice how you always hear people saying, oh, well, Crockett, yeah, she was a good candidate. I really liked her in Congress, but I don't know if she could have won the Republican vote. Tallarico, even though he didn't show me shit, I have a greater belief in him that he is going to win the Republican vote, so I'm going to choose him. What they are saying is they think that the Republicans hold more weight and the Republicans hold more power. So they voted for someone like Tallarico, even though they thought Jasmine Crockett was the better candidate. They voted
Mm.
against their own best interests, not because of racism in some situations, but for some people, they voted for the team that they thought was going to win. So in their minds, they think the Republicans are going to win. So the best way to get a Democrat in office is going to be a Democrat that is likable by the Republicans. I hope that
Mm.
makes sense to people. But
That
that
makes a lot of sense.
That's what happens in politics. It's not that some people were anti-black and are, didn't want a woman or whatever the case may be. For some people, they literally were placing bets. It's bets, just like with a horse race or with a football team or a basketball team, it's bets. And in their mind, Tallarico had the better opportunity because he was more presentable to Republicans and to the nonpartisan voters. Was that necessarily true? No. Why not? Because no matter what, if you are a strong Democrat, you're going to vote for that Democrat that's in office. So if everyone takes on that mentality, oh, Crockett can't win the Republicans, she can't win the nonpartisans, so we have to vote for Tallarico. Guess what? That's what that leaves us with Tallarico. And so same for my race. If people look at it as like, well, you know what? We had this MAGA guy running. We had the Trump supporter running. Shonique's approach is very strong. She's, I really like her. She stands up. She's all about, fighting against injustice. But I don't know if Republicans are going to vote for her. I don't know if nonpartisans are going to vote for her. So let's go with the safe Democratic bet. We know Linda Sanchez, because she's already been in office for 23 years. We know that she can get the people to vote for her. So we're going to vote for Linda Ineffective Ass Sanchez, even though she did nothing for us for 23 years, because she's a safer bet for us than Shonique Williams. That's what some people, do. And that's how some people move and operate when it comes time for elections. They're hedging bets.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. Because common people don't and just because it's not like you said, it's just ignorance and it's kind of like the way that this system is set up for us. But like most people don't know like the voting system. They don't know the political arena too much. So I think also too, our community is affected by people who don't go vote. You'll hear a lot. Okay, so like say for instance, like from like me, I'm from Texas, born and raised in El Paso, Texas or El Paso. Oh my God, thank you, Daisy. El Paso has about let's say 700,000 people. I know it's a little bit more than that, but we're gonna say 700,000 people. Out of the 700,000 people, maybe 20,000 show up to vote, 30,000. Like the numbers are astronomically low. Like our people just don't go vote. Like they don't get out of their house to go vote. And it's much to our detriment because look at Texas. We've been, it's being ran by the demon on wheels for the last 12 years. Because our people don't go vote. And then when they do, they're just voting for the wrong ones. So it makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that you kind of broke it down for us.
They don't go vote. Then they say, and this is Black and brown people, they don't go vote. Then they say, oh, well, it's because our votes don't count. Oh, it's because our votes don't matter. And it's like, I don't know what to do to break through to some people, right? Because side note, but very related, like even in the Black community right now, we have the boycott. If anybody questioned it, I hope you don't ever. Of course, I'm supporting the boycott. I don't never play about my people. But you have people that you have Black people that are like, oh, I'm not participating in the boycott because it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to matter because other Black people, they're still going to go to, these Asian ran businesses. They're still going to go here. They're still going to go there. And it's like the more people keep saying that, you're the problem. Because even if you stand right there by yourself and refuse to boycott, refuse to participate, and you participate in the boycott and you refuse to participate in continuing to funnel your Black dollars into communities that don't support you, you yourself are the problem. If it's only you standing by yourself, please stand for something, right? Like, please stand for something. You don't have to necessarily announce it. You don't have to talk about it. Like I said, for me, I ain't never announced it or talked about it, but anybody that knows should have known. I absolutely have been participating in the boycott. I have kept my thoughts and opinions to myself regarding everything going on because it gets to a point where it's exhausting. But at the exact same time, I'm saying all that to say you had people that were operating in YT supremacy. They were Asians, but they were operating in YT supremacy. And they were saying, oh, this and this is not about the Black community at the start of this Rick Chow, verdict XYZ, right? Oh, they didn't need the Black dollars, this and that. Oh, okay, bet. say less. Then all of a sudden, now that that's moving and operating, now Black people are being called, racist because, oh, well, why aren't you shopping with, wait, I thought you didn't need the Black dollar. I thought it didn't matter. So now it's a problem. I'm saying that to say it's the same when it comes down to our votes, you guys. Like, to sit here and to think that your one vote does not make a difference is literally insanity, because if your one vote didn't make a difference, why would they continuously try to kill you and steal it?
Mm.
Like, but this is something that we get told. This is something we get told and taught in Black households. I don't know about brown households, but in Black, we know this. We do know that about our history. Like, we literally know that Black people were being unalived in order to keep us from voting. So if we know that, why would anywhere in our brain would we think that the vote did not matter and it did not count? If it did not matter and it did not count, why would they try to unalive you for it? Like, that in and of itself, that is white supremacy doing its job in keeping people in a space of insanity, because it's not ignorance at that point. That is keeping them in a space of insanity and actually keeping them operating under the guise of white supremacy. I call everything white supremacy because it is. I don't just say that to throw the term around loosely. It is white supremacy. White supremacy teaches people that their vote doesn't matter, because white supremacy wants to brainwash people into that thought process. Because if I continuously have you thinking that you are not free when you are free, you will be sitting over here years after the rest of the enslaved people in America, the Black enslaved people in America, are free. You'll be sitting here years after still on my plantation. I hope you guys understood what you were celebrating Juneteenth for. We were free, but there were people in Texas that did not know they were free, because why? Their white master didn't tell them they were free, so they continued to be under the guise and the belief that they were not. That's just the truth and the reality of what happened. It's the same thing with our votes. If white supremacy keeps teaching Black and brown and marginalized people that our votes do not matter, we are literally being controlled and operating and remaining on the plantation without them having to do no work. Now we're enslaved due to our own, belief system, our own struggles of not realizing the freedom is literally right there. Just step over the line. Like, what are you afraid of?
Mm. Yeah. Man. That's a word. I am so excited because after this, I upload it onto YouTube, onto our YouTube channel. So for people who are like barely catching up, because you are speaking a word right now, y'all make sure you guys tap in on YouTube so that you can rewatch it and digest it, chew it, digest it, because Miss Shonique she is giving us a word right now. She's giving us a sermon on Sunday. I just want y'all to know, like, that's what it is. What Looking at specific needs for your community and our communities, what is your actionable plan to address the most pressing issues right now that's going on?
Um, Unfortunately, there is way too many issues right now for me to figure out where I best want to utilize my time. This is something that um, I put everything on the back burner right now at this time, because as we know, like I said, elections were just June 2nd. I have not openly shared and discussed it, but people should have known or assumed. I graduated law school in April. The California State Bar is here in the last week of July. So thank you. So my attention is actually on the California State Bar right now. So people that are wondering, like, why hasn't Shonique been, out and about? For one, I can't afford to get arrested, you guys, because I need to study. So I can't afford to get arrested. As soon as I be at protests and rallies, unfortunately, the police are on me like white on rice. So I always get arrested or hemmed up. And so I can't afford that right now. I need to put all my days and my times into studying for the bar. And so there is so much happening, everything from the baby Cohen that was, unalived, the dog Jameson, to, the Carmelo case. Like, there's a million things going on in America right now at the expense of Black lives, brown lives, marginalized lives. Like, if I take that in, I would not be able to focus on, what I currently need to get done. And I have 6.5 weeks to do that. So for myself, I have removed myself from the space. Of course, I'm still staying updated. I'm still watching everything every day, but I have removed myself from, injecting any thoughts or opinions or strategies, because when I get invested in something, I'm invested in it, and that's going to be my time, my attention, and my focus. And so I know that I can't allow myself to get caught up in what's currently happening. I'm saying all that to say is that, once I come out of that space, once I get done with my testing, I will then be able to look and evaluate and see, where we are at as a country, as a state, as a community, as a people, and see what that support would best look like for me to offer to the community. Maybe by that time I'll be able to have somebody that I can support that's running for office. Maybe, like I said before, right now I don't have anybody that I would support, but I would really like to support a candidate. So we'll see what that looks like. If not that, it will be probably an advocacy group or space outside of the campaign work. That's where I come from, is grassroots organizing and spaces like that. So nonprofits that do work for Black and Brown communities, I'm always in touch and in spaces with them. So perhaps that will be it. I still currently working with the family of Brian Bostic, who was unalived in the custody of Inglewood PD here in March of 2026. I'm also working with the family of Jacquay Robinson, who was unalived by San Bernardino Sheriff in the city of Riverside, California, in January of this year. So I'm working with families still that I met along the campaign trail and the journey, and these are people that have not received the national news and attention and media coverage that they should have. I'm one of those people that, please believe, I'm always working. It may not look the way that people would think it would look. I don't have to post everything. I don't have to talk about everything. The only reason you guys see all the content you see right now is because I was running for office. I'm somebody that definitely grew up around, street people. So we believe in moving in silence. You move, you don't have to announce everything. And so I say all that to say, again, I just have to wait and evaluate once I'm, done prioritizing this very big thing for me, what it's going to look like to pour into community.
Mm. Well, thank you for that, and congratulations on the bar exam and just going to law school. That is not an easy thing to do. That was one of my dreams, was to go to law school, but I got too lazy and got my criminal justice degree instead. So
Ain't
I
nothing stopping you. You could
commend
always
you.
go right now.
Don't get me started, because I was already thinking about it.
I'm just saying, it ain't nothing to it but to do it. I'm just saying.
That part. My grandpa used to always tell me that. So, congratulations. The bar
Thank
is
you.
intense. So
It
I can
is.
just
And California
imagine.
State Bar at that. So
Yes, like I could just imagine what you're having to study and read. And my hat's off to you. Kudos to you. Um, you're doing an amazing job. You are an inspiration to everybody around you, and all the little Black and brown girls around you that need somebody to look up to. You are that. So thank you for that. Um, Mija said in 2027 we all go to law school, because I love to debate. um, this is usually around the time, actually, that I pull somebody up from the audience to ask you a question. If that's okay with you. I think I have somebody in mind you might be familiar with. Um, they'll ask you one or two questions of their choice if they can. So I invited Miss Micha. I'm not sure if she's available. If you are, come up. Um, and then I have a few more questions for you after that.
okay, I'm in no rush.
But my just like sidebar question is, how is law school for you? Like,
Uh,
is it as intense as people talk about?
yes. So keep in mind, I'm already graduated. I graduated law school in April. So I started in September of 2022. So first of all, everything I do is non-traditional. I pay for law school completely out of pocket. Side note, but very related for people that are on the fence about supporting.
Expensive.
Man, people that are on the fence about supporting student loan forgiveness, I hate the conversation because people feel like, oh, we're just giving handouts. Like, da 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 da. First of all, education should be free, but we ain't
Yep,
even gonna go there right now.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
support student loan forgiveness for one because I myself was a recipient of student loan forgiveness. People that are ignorant and think that Biden and his administration did not do the things that they said. First of all, remember earlier in here, I said I was a former foster child. I did not have financial support from family, nothing like that when I aged out of foster care. My way to success was always my education. Okay, so I went ahead and I started college actually at 16. And I took classes. I didn't have to pay for college between the ages of 16 through 18, but after that, I had to start paying. Long story short, I had roughly, I think I was at roughly $150,000 in student loan debt. Under Biden's administration, I got roughly $100,000 forgiven of my student loan debt. Okay. And once that was forgiven, I knew that I did not want to secure any more student loan debt because, see, when I started getting student loan debt, I was only 18 years old. So I didn't know and I didn't understand, oh my God, like this is going to negatively impact your life for years until you can pay off this six figure debt you're incurring, right? Like we're not teaching that to 18-year-olds when we're giving them these large loan amounts. And I didn't, F over my money. I was literally using my money for school. Okay. And so saying all that to say, once my student loan debt was, forgiven, I wanted to make sure I didn't put myself in a place to go back into that same debt. So
Mm.
I paid for my education out of pocket. So student loan forgiveness is not a handout. It is not just giving to people that made poor decisions in life. No, some of us really needed to take that route. We needed those loans, and then once that student loan was forgiven, we were at a better place mentally, more financially, educated to make wiser decisions. And those wiser decisions helped me to be able to pay for my law school out of pocket. So for me, that meant I didn't take out a single loan. I didn't even have grants, unfortunately, due to the route that I took. But I'm thankful that I didn't have to, take any money from the government, the state, or anyone, thanks to that student loan forgiveness. So I am a very, very much so an advocate of student loan forgiveness for everyone. I don't care what your socioeconomic status is. I just believe that we should just go ahead and wipe that out clean, start fresh. The government should have never gave you all that money to begin with. Blah 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 blah. So with that being said, I went to a California accredited school. People that want to look into going to law school that live in the state of California, please do your homework. ABA route is great for some people. For some of us, it is not, because I needed to pay for my education out of pocket. Because I didn't want any more loans, I could not afford to pay for an ABA law school. So I paid for a California accredited law school. So what that meant was my school was accredited by the state of California. As soon as I, graduated, I was eligible to sit for the California State Bar. I also was
Mm.
eligible to sit for, I think we are able to sit for like somewhere between 7 to 10 other states as well. Don't quote me on it, but it's somewhere between 7 to 10. But I myself will not ever be leaving California. Born and raised California, love California. We are literally the best state. Don't care where everybody else live. This is the best state. Southern California at that, because we are our own separate state down here too. So with that being said, because I knew that, it made sense for me to go to a California accredited school versus an ABA accredited school, right? Because again, I had to look at my finances and look at what made the most sense for me. Evaluate your situation, decide what's best for you. If you currently live in the state of Texas and you don't know if you're always going to want to live in Texas, you might decide one day you want to move to New York or move to Florida. You need to go to an ABA school. And that is
Mm.
because you do not want to limit yourself. For one, I don't even know if you guys have state accredited schools in Texas, to be quite honest. But you don't want to limit yourself if you know that you
I need
are
to look
likely
into
going
that.
to. I'm sorry, say again.
I said I need to look into that. That's interesting.
Yeah, because it's cheaper. If you guys have state accredited school, your state accredited school will be cheaper than the ABA. The reason why it's cheaper is because think of ABA as a nationally accredited school. So you can go to take the state bar. As soon as you graduate, you can take the state bar in any state. When you go to a state accredited school, you can take the bar in that state. And then depending on where else the school has set itself up for success, you can go take the state bar in some other states, but not all states. For example,
Mm.
like even though my school is California accredited, I can't go take the state bar in Nevada. right now. I can't go take the state bar in Arizona right now, but there are some states, whatever that 7 to 10 different states are, where I can go take the state bar. Like I know one of them is Iowa. I could go take the state bar in Iowa right now. Saying all that to say, look at your situation, decide what's best for you. That's what I did, and my route was not easy. The first school that I went to, that I graduated, not graduated, but completed my first year, I had to take what was known as the first year law school exam. So here in the state of California, if you go to a school that is accredited, it's hard to like put it all in a small little space, but like if it's accredited outside of ABA or accredited outside of the California State Bar, you have to take what's known as the first year law school exam. And I went to a school that required that. That school actually got shut down after I completed my first year because they had some whole bunch of issues. So the California State Bar shut them down. That left me to have to like study for the state bar by myself instead of getting support from my school. Thankfully, I
Wow.
was able to complete that, get that done, and then I transferred to the school that I ultimately ended up graduating from. Anybody that wants to know, I graduated from Purdue Global Law School. So they are based out of Davenport, Iowa. I never moved to Iowa. I was able to complete my whole law degree online. It is
That's
fully accredited.
amazing.
Yes. So Gina, that's a school you could potentially look into. But I will say I know that Texas is not one of the schools that they are accredited under. So I do know that for sure. Texas is not. They're fighting for ABA accreditation. But what happens is the only reason they are not ABA accredited is in America, no school that is 100% online, no law school 100% online is accredited by the ABA. So some schools, they do have a ground campus like brick and mortar, and then they offer online classes. They can be ABA accredited, but for it to be completely 100% online, which means cheaper expenses for the student because now there's no overhead costs such as the campus, the building, those schools are not ABA. So keep that in mind. Some people do think like, oh, if you go to a non-ABA accredited school, then that means like your program was not as rigorous or your program was not as hard. That is 100% false. Oftentimes it just means that your school just doesn't adhere to the typical brick and mortar program. If you look into Purdue Global Law School, who used to also be known as Concord Law School in the state of California, they actually every year for the past 5 years, more than that, but for the past 5 years, they actually always have more first-time bar exam takers complete and pass the bar exam in the state of California than some of the counterpart ABA schools. So what that means is even though these people are paying double the tuition that I did that went to an ABA school, they are not more likely than me to pass because of the school that they went to versus the school that I went to, and I paid half of the money that they did. So
Wow.
feel free to
I'm
DM
definitely
me.
gonna look into that. I
Yes.
am. I am.
Anybody feel free to DM me regarding that because I definitely will advocate for ABA accreditation where it's needed, but for some people, we don't need that.
Right. Thank you for that. I'm gonna have to get with you on the back end about that because I had recently started to kind of look into different online schools for my law degree. So, and I know that like with my criminal justice degree, some of those credits or what I do have can apply to whatever little bit of my first semester, whatever classes that I do have. So I'll definitely get with you on the back
Do you
end.
have your associates, Gina, or your
Yes,
bachelor's?
ma'am. My associates.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Micha, hello. Thank you for coming up.
Hello. Hi, mis amores. Hi, Shonique.
Hi, Micha.
Hello.
Hi, my love. Oh my goodness. Yes, I think my first question would be how do you balance I think I'm not in Congress, so I wouldn't know, but I'm pretty sure as a woman who is part of the Black and Brown community, you are constantly met with a lot of barriers and a lot of denial in your ability or your capabilities of what you can do for our people. How do you balance being told no and understanding that your judgment and your heart is in the right place for your community?
Because I was on mute because I was laughing. Girl, I don't accept no. So for one, I am a Black woman in America. Okay. For two, I am a millennial. For three, I am a Gemini. Girl, I don't even know what no means. Like, I don't know what no means. I literally don't. I say that being funny but serious because I'm not into the zodiac stuff. But it's funny because if you know a Gemini, then you know. Um, I don't know what no means. No to me are telling me what I can not do is just going to fuel me to figure out how to do it. And the funny part about it is when I do it, I'm not even gonna come in your face and like brag or gloat about it because I already know you watching me. I'm gonna just do it and then I'm gonna just sit back and chill. And because I know you're watching. And so I say that to say, funny enough, like even with law school, remember when I launched this congressional campaign, I was in my third year of law school. I was in my final year of law school. There was people like, oh my God, you gotta drop out. You gotta, put your final year on hold. I'm talking about even my campaign strategist. People were telling me like, put your final year on hold. There's no way you're going to be able to do that. No, shut the fuck up. So what ended up happening was even running the campaign, launching my a campaign during my final year of law school, out the gate, I posted my GPA. It was like what? It was definitely a 3.6 or a 3.8. Stop playing with me. Most people take 2 to 3 classes per semester in law school. I took 6 that semester, and then my last semester, the one that I just finished, I took 7. Like, I've never played. Like, as much as you see me screaming, yelling, cussing, I'm very much so educated. I'm very highly intelligent. I don't know why people think like yelling and cussing, like, equates to somebody having a lack of intelligence. No, I like to cuss because I just like to cuss. That's just what I do. But no, I don't accept no from anybody, from anything. People that have wondered, I am single. One of the reasons I am single is because I do not accept no. I do not like complacency. I don't like someone telling me, what I'm limited to do. And if I am dead set focused on something, and if you are in the way of that, you got to move. I don't care who you are. You could be a friend, you could be a relative, you could be whoever you want to be. If you are in the way of my goals and what I have going on, I'm gonna need you to get out of my way. And that's not even respectfully. That is disrespectfully, and it's always going to be disrespectfully because do not limit me. Do not limit me based on your limitations. So America, society, politics has absolutely tried to stand in the way of my goals, my dreams, but I wouldn't be anybody or anything if I would have accepted that. Like, if you knew my life story, you would understand the statistics that I overcame. I was not ever anyone's teen mom. I was not ever, addicted to substance abuse, none of the things that society deemed or thought that I should have done or gone through because of the fact that I was, a product of a teen parent. My mom didn't have me as a teen, she had my brother as a teen. I was never the product of a teen parent. I experienced every form of child abuse growing up, but again, I myself never found myself at the hands of becoming the abuser in situations and circumstances. So for me, I just believe in defying odds, whatever that looks like.
What an inspiration. I know that we've talked a little bit about, um, growing up as foster youth and beating those statistics. I definitely admire you all the way from over here in the Midwest in the trenches, girl. But I think that being said, I know that in California, especially, there is a high population of melanated folks that cannot vote, unfortunately. And I think that always hits home for me because I am part of that community as well. And constantly,
Wait,
we
Misha, what
are
do you mean by they cannot vote?
like
Which people,
for
which
the
people are you talking about?
immigrant or the migrant
Oh, okay.
community.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. And so that being said, how do you think people like us could represent or could help support people like you who are trying to create a space for all of us?
Good question.
Yeah. So for one, the reason, if anyone didn't know, the reason I was asking who cannot vote is because being somebody that advocates for Black and brown marginalized people, especially in political spaces, a lot of times we run into a lack of knowledge and ignorance from community. In the state of California, every state's different, right? In the state of California, you can vote here on probation. You can vote on parole. You can vote if you are serving time in county jail. You can vote here if you have a felony on your record. So I say that's why I had to ask that for Micha, because I know some states, you guys do not have those same rights and protections, but we do in the state of California. Okay. You cannot vote in the state of California, of course, if you're, not documented or if you are in serving time in the state prison or federal prison. So the way those individuals can support that have no ability to exercise a vote is by continuing to amplify candidates such as myself, spreading word of mouth. One thing I will say, Black and Brown community members, we are very prideful and very protectful of our community and our spaces, which we absolutely should be. There has to be safe spaces for only brown people. There has to be safe spaces for only Black people. Don't let anybody make you think that that is quote unquote racist or prejudice. That's dumb. There has to be safe spaces only for women. There has to be safe spaces only for men, only for trans, only for LGBTQ. Like, you have to have safe spaces with only your makeup of people, because no one will understand you like those people. And there are certain discussions and conversations that are necessary within just that group in that space. And those spaces need to be respected and they need to be safe, right? So I say that because even someone who is undocumented and cannot exercise the right to vote, they can advocate for someone like me, because it is more likely that a brown person is going to listen to another brown person when that brown person says, hey, I know that our community has gone through X, Y, Z. I know we don't trust, politicians. We don't support this and this and this and that. But Shonique, she has fought for our community. She does stand up for our community. She does speak out. Yes, she's a Black woman and she's a very proud Black woman, but she does not only advocate for Black people. She advocates for us too. And I say that because right now in America, there is a large, large divide amongst everybody. Okay, but especially in Black and brown community right now, because white supremacy is way smarter than we give them credit for. Yeah, they don't care about going to the dentist, and most of them are inbred and stuff, but they do understand how to utilize power. And the way they utilize power is by gaslighting and by manipulating, okay? So one thing white supremacists are very, very good at is keeping people enslaved and keeping people caged, and they do it mentally. They don't necessarily do it physically. Physically, white supremacy can't whoop Black people. White supremacy can't whoop brown people. They can't whoop us. Like, we know that, right? And I'm saying that proudly. They cannot whoop us. So what they have to do is they have to get to us mentally. So the best way to do that is to continue to have Black people and brown people look at each other as enemies. Because if Black people and brown people ever get up and decide to move forward as a unit and to operate as one safe space, you come for a Black person, you come in for a brown person, you come for a brown person, you come in for a Black person. If we ever get up and get out of our own way, out of our own pride and our own ego, and come together, white supremacy would not exist in America. America knows that. So that is why YT America spends so much time causing all of this division and this harm in Black and brown communities to keep us divided amongst each other. Okay. And so I say that to say that the best way somebody that cannot exercise the right to vote because it is, taken from them for whatever reason, get behind the advocacy and the support of the strong candidates still, still say, hey, you know what? Look, I can't vote for Miss Williams, but I support her. I stand by what she's talking about. I'm over here in the state of Texas, but guess what, California? I need you to go exercise your right to vote for her. Guess what? That's how you do it, and I know we were talking about certain communities, but that's all communities. Even no matter what seat I move forward, the next election, it doesn't matter if you're in Texas, doesn't matter if you're in Florida, New York, Mississippi. If you are pushing forward, advocating for candidates that are outside of your state, you are putting the word out there. It's moving the algorithm for us. And it's letting people know, hey, get this person on your radar. I was not in the TikTok space. I had, no idea how to utilize this space. I still don't know how to utilize this space. But Saji, Kaso, Smitty, different people started having me come into their spaces. And then before you knew it, well, Smitty is actually here in California. We got to meet in person, but I'm saying people outside of the state of California, started having me come into their spaces. And that started helping push forward my support on TikTok, because it's unfortunately when you're speaking politics, and especially when you're a strong voice and force like myself, I'm shadow banned all the time. Okay, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, like they're always threatening to take my stuff down. I can't go live on Instagram for a year. I got all kind of crap going on. So with that being said, like I rely on the support of other people pushing my content through the algorithm. People don't understand politics are very expensive. Okay, but it makes a difference to me. I don't say it just as like campaign language. When I be like, oh, if you could just give me $1, $2, like it literally adds up. When you are a congressional candidate that is grassroots, like you need every single dollar you can get. You know what I mean? Think of it like this. My yard signs were somewhere between $8 to $10 a sign. I say that because I remember we were trying to work out a deal. I ended up having to pay $8 to $10 per sign, right? So if you give me $10, you're buying a yard sign. And I get to go put that yard sign in someone's yard. And then that yard sign is now visible by hundreds of people that are driving past. So don't ever look at it as like, because I can't vote for this person or because I don't live in their city or their state, like I can't support them. Yes, you can. And it could be something as small as $10. You know, the walk pieces to get 1,000 walk pieces. Those are like these little flyers, like I would like knock door to door and give out to people, letting them know that I was running and stuff. Those cost me like what, just under $200 for 1,000. So if someone's giving me $200, you are giving me 1,000 pieces of informational material that I get to pass out in the district. So it may seem like a little bit to you, but to me, that's everything, because that's now 1,000 voters that I can reach. And that is how we think and we operate when we're grassroots, right? Not talking about those APOC fund people and all of them, because they got money, you know, but me, I don't have money as a grassroots candidate. And so I need every little support I can get. So wrapping that up, support me by sharing out content on your page, no matter what state or city you live in, reposting, resharing, sending it to, you know, people's DMs directly. When you're in your lives, which I appreciate so many of you have done, shouting me out, asking people to go to my, you know, page and donate. One day I was on Saji's live and she raised me like 200 something dollars. I don't remember how long we were on the live, but she raised like 200 something dollars, you know, for the campaign. And it's things like that that may appear to be small, but they're really not. Like they make such a huge difference and they mean everything to me. Hey, there you go, Saji.
Thank you, Miss Shonique. Micha, thank you for coming up, Mama. Thank you for asking the questions. I appreciate you.
And Shonique, again, thank you so much for, you know, giving all of us a voice, and definitely thank you for putting it into that perspective. I think sometimes us who can't vote, like we forget how we can create a voice and a space for ourselves. So thank you so much.
Everything helps. Thank you, Micha.
Wow. Thank you guys. Thank you, Micha, for coming up and asking the questions. Welcome in everybody who is coming in. And thank you again to Miss Shonique. Miss Shonique, I did not know you were a Gemini. I know you said you're not into the zodiac things, but it makes a lot lot of sense.
I'm not into zodiacs, but girl, I'm a proud Gemini. Okay, June 6th. My birthday was June 6th.
June 6th, my little brother.
Actually.
My little brother is June 4th.
Oh yeah,
June 4th. My daughter is also a Gemini, so it makes sense. She's a May Gemini. She's May 28th.
She's a little different. Yeah, a little different.
She's got a little bit of the Taurus tendency.
Yeah, she's a little different.
No, facts. But like any Gemini that I've known, they're very go-getters, super intelligent. Like I tell my brother all the time, like he's the smartest, dumbest person I know, because he is so smart, things bore him very easily and very quickly. Like if he doesn't have something to constantly stimulate his brain or challenge him, he just goes and does the most randomest, dumbest things. So I'm just like, you're too smart for your own good. Like really, you are.
Literally. Some people, unfortunately, that orange man, he's a Gemini too, and that's why I told when you look at some of the people in society that we know, like celebrities or known names, your Geminis are Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, Donald Trump. Like when you look at it, it's like things like make sense to you in so many different ways. You know, it'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. So like I said, once you get hyper focused on something too, it's just like, you know, that's where your mindset is at, you know, but at the same time, it's funny because if you know a Gemini, they're also bored. So it's just like, it's funny. That's why, you know, Trump does all the crazy weird things he does that people don't understand. He's doing things because he's bored and he needs to excite himself. He needs to cause ruckus. There is a lot of narcissism within Gemini men, but that's a whole nother conversation. So that's part of that too. So
No,
yeah.
thanks. Yeah, you said that, and I felt like, I felt like a little puppy, like my little ears went up because I was like, okay, that makes so much sense. Like it fits you. You give off Gemini energy, so, but it's a good
Definitely.
thing. It's a great thing. I think it keeps you going, and it's brought you this far through life. So I
Yeah.
definitely am. I'm like a zodiac junkie. So
What sign are you, Gina?
I'm a Cancer. I'm a June Cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a June Cancer.
I said,
Yeah, I always say I'm a true Cancer because I'm like in the middle or like the end of June. But then again, maybe it's just my bias because June and July Cancers kind of have their beef.
because you're so biased. Because I know that. Because I definitely be sitting there side eyeing May Gemini. I'd be like, whatever. So, so I'm pretty sure the July Cancers look at you the same. Like,
Yeah,
girl, you barely
yeah,
made it.
fact. No, I feel like that of the July Cancers. I'm like, you got a little bit of Leo in you. I'm good. Just follow with it.
Yeah, it'd be like that.
No, it really does. Well, Miss Shonique, I want to thank you so much for being here, and even like through the cancellation and the time we managed to come in and come and get this done. I'm not sure if you follow our YouTube, Miss Shonique, but just check it out, even if you don't follow it. I'll try to post your interview later on this week, and for anybody else who is coming in late or just missed it. Um, I always post it on there. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. You are beyond gracious for like to even be here and have taken out the time out of your day to be here with the bar exam like stuff you got going on. Like it's just the fact that you're here. I really appreciate it, and I'm super honored to have you on the show. Um, I'm fairly new. This podcast is fairly new. So when I first started, I had a group of people, and I know you probably didn't know me from Adam, but I had a group of women that I had in mind, and you were on the list because you're part of the fairly new episodes. I was like, man, and I know that we have mutuals, but I kind of wanted to do it's the pride in me that I wanted to do on my own. I was like, I'll get a hold of her. I'm not asking them to I'm gonna do it. So I really appreciate you for being here. And just you giving us a word. You gave us a lot of great information, even helping us out with like people who are interested in law school. I'm definitely gonna be hitting you up. Definitely. That was always my dream. Always, 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 always my dream.
But then you definitely got to go to law school.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I wanted to be an attorney since I was 8. So it doesn't matter when you do it, just do it.
Sounds about right. Yeah, sounds about right. My grandpa was a paralegal. He was a sheriff. I don't like law enforcement, but
Yeah.
I am super proud of him.
Right.
He isn't my biological grandfather, but he married my grandma when she had 8 kids, and then they had 3 of their own. But he raised my mom and all the older ones. So he was a black man, but he was a sheriff in a time in the early '60s when it wasn't a thing to be a black sheriff. So like
Nah, they just came from slave catching. What you mean? Of course not.
yeah, and then he married an immigrant woman from Mexico. Like, so
He's just defying all the odds. That's all.
yeah, he just was like, fuck all y'all. So, like him raising me and growing up, I would always hear like his stories, my grandma's stories. And then they eventually started their own paralegal business, and I always told him that I would go to law school. So that's something I promised both of them before they passed. So I owe it to myself and to them to do it. So you're an inspiration. Like I keep getting these little signs from the universe, and so yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't believe in coincidences whatsoever. I don't believe there's no such thing as a coincidence. So, you have to get to it. We didn't go over it in this story during this live, but what led me to want to be an attorney is when I was 8 years old. My uncle at the time had got sentenced to 81 years to life under the three strikes law. So yeah, it's a lot that led me to be a civil rights leader. But at the exact same time, that's also how I knew and I understood, wait a minute, this system doesn't make sense. What do you mean someone that didn't take someone's life can be sentenced to 81 years to life? Like, why would we do that? That doesn't, make sense. I understood that at 8 years old, that this was a, rigged system. It was set up for failure for people of color from the very beginning. Which will have to be a whole nother deep dive into the 13th Amendment. But with that being said, no matter what life challenges presented itself, no matter what degrees I pursued, that longing, that aching is not going to go away for you. I say that because I actually did my associates in criminal justice as well. I did my bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in addiction. Then I did my master's degree in legal studies because I was like, oh, whatever. I had, my wrongful conviction. So it was all these things that made me think, you know what? No, this isn't going to work for me. I'm not going to be able to pursue law school. And the longing, the aching never went away. For one, because it's a promise that you made to yourself as a little girl, but then it's a promise that you made to other people. So you're going to constantly have that thought, that feeling. And if you don't do it, you're going to have that what if for your rest of your life. Like, you're going to be sitting there, girl, in your old little rocking chair, like, dang, what if I would have just went to law school? So
I do that now. I'm like, if you wouldn't have just wasted all that time, we have
the years go by regardless. Yeah, so that's how I look at life. Like, the years are gonna go by regardless. Just do it. Like, what like Nike really ate with that. Like, just do it because okay, you do it, you get the degree, and then you decide you don't want to pursue law anymore. You decide you don't want to be an attorney no more. Okay, you can still do so many amazing things with a Juris Doctorate. Even just the fact to say, I am a brown woman with a Juris Doctorate, girl, you already gonna eat. Like, who cares?
Yeah, thank you. I definitely needed that little kick and that boost of inspiration. I really appreciate you. Well, we're locked in. We're mutuals. If I can help you in any way, a little bit about myself. I'm a brown beret. I've been a brown beret for 5 years now. So not only do I do that, boots on the ground, I'm doing this online. So I have connections and I know plenty of people everywhere. So if you ever need anything from me, besides obviously reposting and just pushing your name out there, let me know. I'm here. I'm
telling you, just like I'm gonna tell everybody right now. And put my ask out there, because as Black and brown women especially, we are, a lot of pride and a lot of ego goes into our history, right? Which is beautiful, but we also don't know how to ask for help. So we do have to do a better job in that. I don't fully know what it's going to look like for me, but I am going to need everyone's help, no matter what seat I decide to pursue. You guys have probably saw, I've, put it out there, the fillers of debating, oh my God, for 2028, should I run for U.S. Senate, which would be a statewide position, because I got to remember, I'm going to break it down every time to make sure people understand. If I run for U.S. Senate, that will be a California statewide position. So anybody who is eligible to vote in the state of California could vote for me. Our president, which of course, anybody in America could vote for me that is eligible to vote. I say that because there's a lot of things that go into these conversations and these decisions sometimes, but the thing that I notice the most that gets left out is community. Like, people don't come sit down and talk to us as community members and say, hey, what position makes the most sense for you? As if I was to be a representative, would you prefer me to support you as a senator? Would you prefer for me to support you as a president? And when you start having those conversations with community early on, I've realized it helps people feel involved. It helps people feel inclusive, because, just like when I was running for U.S. House Representative, Congress, it's the same thing. Is although this was a district position in the state of California, Congress has the ability to impact laws. Their laws will impact the country, right? It's the same thing for U.S. Senate, right? US Senate, there's literally only 2 US senators per state in America. So people that don't know that, that's a quick way to remember. We have 100 US senators, 2 per state in the country. US senators are also within Congress. Congress is made of, I say this because I just love dropping information for people. Congress is made of 535 representatives, okay? 100 of them are US senators. The other 435 are US House. So, to not confuse people, I just ran for Congress, but I ran for Congress as a US House representative. So I was running for one of 435 positions. When or if I run for US Senator, I will be running for one of 100 positions, but it will still technically be Congress because Congress is made up of US Senators and US House. Feel free always to DM me if those kind of things, the education sometimes can get lost, but I hope that makes a lot of sense to people. On the trail, like I said, I realized so many people didn't understand what representatives did, what they looked like, blah, 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 blah. So I just want to make sure I'm trying to always like put that little knowledge in there. But I say that because, again, going back to when community members feel like they had a part in helping you reach your decision, I think it helps them like feel a lot more involved. Even though the election will be in 2028, the campaign will begin as early as roughly December 2026 to maybe about February. I probably would launch no later than like February of 2027. So those of us that know, like time flies. So we're having this conversation right now here in June. Before you know it, it's going to be December. And I'm going to be needing to make my decision of where I'm going to run. The reason I'm waiting to the end of the year to push for whatever campaign is because we still currently have an election and you don't want to confuse people, right? Like I don't want people confused. Technically I can announce it anytime, right? But I don't want people confused when they're still trying to support like congressional candidates and people that are running for Senate right now, like, in various states. Like I don't want people confused with my election because my election will not take place till 2028. But the hard work, the boots on the ground, the building community, all of that support, it gets started now. So if you remember, Gina, earlier how I was saying like for the U.S. House representative seat, the Congress seat I was running for, if I would have had time, if the proposition would have already passed, I would have been building the groundwork, these kind of conversations, I would have been doing that the minimum of 18 to 24 months out. So you guys are now a part of my minimum 18 to 24 months out. I hope that makes sense. So that's what this is now. Yeah, this is happening now. So if you start having these conversations, so when you see people moving throughout the US right now that are potentially going to run for president, such as Gavin Newsom or AOC, that's why they're doing that now. They're not announcing that they're potentially running for president. What they're doing is they're building the relationship and the conversation because, of course, if you run for president, you have to build the relationship up in all of the 50 states. Hopefully you secure a relationship in all 50 states because you need supporters, volunteers, people in all these states. So that way, when time comes, I'm like, Gina, hey, do you have the ability to help me host something over there in Texas? I can come out there, in 2 weeks, get people amped up. I'm doing presidency. So you're going to be like, oh, Shonique, I got you. And you and whoever will set up a meeting space and place for me to come, whether that's like a coffee lounge, whether that's, a school, wherever the case may be, I will come out to your respective state. And that will be something community would help do. So these are the things behind the scenes that I realized on my campaign trail. We as candidates, our elected officials, don't realize community doesn't know what that means and they don't know what that looked like. We'll see the people at these events, like we'll see candidates at these events, but we don't even understand how that got started. It got started with somebody just like you, Gina, of like, oh my God, okay, Shonique's I want Shonique to come out here. I want her to speak to my community, the volunteer base here. You're going to reach out to, the Brown Berets, whoever, like however many people you can, and you're going to be like, hey, she's coming. We need to pack the house, whatever that looks like. If you think, okay, let's secure tickets, because sometimes it makes the most sense to sell tickets because, of course, all that money goes to the candidate. You're either going to sell tickets or you'll set up something with somebody to like do like drinks and refreshments, just all of that kind of stuff. That all takes community building. And once we know how to plug in as a community, it makes it a lot easier for us to support.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Earlier, you had spoken about how people like the Jasmine and the Tallarico situation, and just like people voting for Tallarico, just not necessarily like you said because of racism or misogyny, but because he was a better palatable candidate for the Republicans. Like even that, I would have never thought of. Like I didn't think of that. Like I didn't. I'm very surface level, so having you even speak about these things is like super mind blowing and eye opening, because your average person doesn't know any of those things. So
Right.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I brought that to your all's attention because, for one, I'm going to get termed with the same thing, regardless if I run for presidency, U.S. Senate. Like it's going to be the same. People that support me. They are going to be supporters of mine. They're going to question, oh my gosh, am I wasting a vote on Shonique because she has such a strong demeanor? Like she doesn't back down. Like I love that about her, but I don't know if a Republican is going to vote for her. You get what I'm saying? Like that's what people do. Like they sabotage the candidate without giving this candidate a chance, because it's like, why don't you just stand behind your candidate just like you stand behind your sports team? That's why I correlated to a sports team. People don't care that the Raiders don't be winning their games. They gonna riot. They gonna, they're gonna go for their team, and they're gonna go for their team no matter what, and they're gonna stand 10 toes down. You have to do the same thing for your candidate. You have to look at it as, even if everyone else is going against the candidate that I'm backing, I'm still gonna stand up for this candidate, and I'm still gonna push for this candidate. So people that support me should already be aware that that's going to be some of the conversation. But the beautiful part about it is, I do move rooms of Republicans and nonpartisan, because even outside of all of the racist crap and stuff that we see in the media, that is not the majority in America. The media just wants us to believe that, but that's not the majority. Okay, so some people, they just need to have conversations like what you and I are doing. I had one of my mentors tell me from the very beginning of deciding to run, Shonique, all you have to do is make sure you're in as many spaces as possible to continuously have conversations with people. When people hear you speak, they're going to vote for you. They're going to support you. But see, that's also where those conversations come from, like I said, of setting up those meeting spaces, because I might not know to go attend the certain event or whatever. A lot of people unfortunately believe that elected officials and candidates know everything that's going on in communities. We don't. Okay, so sometimes it takes for someone to tell us, hey, this event is happening this weekend, or this is happening. So that way you can know, and you can go show up, and you can attend, and you can have a conversation, right? So if I don't know there's something major happening in Texas, what can I do? I'm going to need you, or Jess, I can't remember who else is in Texas. I'm going to need you guys to tell me, hey, Shonique, there's this big old thing happening out here in Texas. Like, you should probably come here. This would be a great opportunity for you to, meet voters. I don't know if you'll be able to speak, but you could at least meet voters, right? Sometimes you can't get up on the platform. The list is already decided of the speakers, but you can just go out and begin to have conversations like this. I don't have conversations with anybody that, even as Republicans and nonpartisan, I don't have conversations with people that end up, feeling like, oh my God, she's ghetto, she's this, she's that. Like, they actually listen, they hear me out, old folks and all of that. It comes down to, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Because we're all humans, and it just takes a conversation sometimes. And if we could sit down and start having conversations, then, a lot more healing could happen. Of course, you're not going to get anything polite from me when I'm responding to ICE snatching somebody up off the streets. Like, why would I'm not coming here to be peaceful. I'm coming here to fight. Like make it make sense. Like, y'all came here to fight, so we came here to fight. So if people see me only in those settings, and I say that based on my content on social media, that's all you see, because that was the quote unquote viral moments that society wanted you to see. And sometimes my campaign wanted you to see. But then when you sit down and you have a conversation, it's just like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, she actually is articulate. Oh, no, she actually is intelligent. Oh, she actually does have a heart for humanity. Well, yeah. Why did you deduce me to only a few seconds or a few minutes that you saw on social media? And that is the harm that our society does to people, period. But especially Black and brown people, right? We get deduced to moments in time, seconds or minutes in time, without getting to have a larger conversation. So many people do not know, even though I do spaces like this, I do podcasts, so many people don't know, that I'm a former foster child. People don't know that, I was in a, domestic violence relationship as a victim. Like, so many people don't know these things about me, For one, because they just weren't listening, because the podcasts and stuff are there and they are available. But for two, sometimes it's just simply that they didn't have the opportunity to view the podcast in the space. You know what I mean? So as great as MV Podcast is, as you're building your platform, some people aren't going to have seen your platform yet. They're not going to see your podcast. So I'm going to need, Jess to bring me up on her live. I'm going to need Saji to continue to bring me up on her lives. I'm going to need people to continue to bring me up, because you guys are going to have different audiences and there's going to be different conversations. We can never deduce somebody's life to an hour or 2 hours in a conversation, no matter how much content we've covered on today, and we've covered a lot. We ain't touched the surface of nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because the women that I have interviewed so far, I always say, be ready for interview 2, because I would love to catch up with you at the end of the year, or maybe like this time next year, to see if there's anything that's changed, if there's other things that you are now like kind of like fighting for, or maybe just anything. So we will see it hopefully in like 6 months, or in this time next year, the difference, and see where you at in this time and space in a year from now or 6 months from now. So be ready.
Let's shoot for 6 months, because a year from now we're gonna be long into the campaign. But so let's shoot for roughly 6 months from now. Yes.
Okay. Y'all heard it here today. 6 months from now.
Yes. We gotta run a strong campaign.
Yes, absolutely. So with my final question, I'm going to end it out with, if you can tell 2 things. So it's going to be a 2-sided question. 1, what would you tell your younger self now? Like, if baby Shonique was in front of you, what would you tell her now?
I talk to baby Shonique often. That's why I'm so amazing. So I would tell her, I love you. And girl, you did that.
Mm.
And not even baby Shonique. I'm going to let you guys in. I actually talk to 5-year-old me the most. I have my favorite picture of myself is a picture from when I was 5 years old. It was actually on a lot of my campaign materials. And I talked to that version of myself so much because, it was a school picture. My hair was done all cute. I had this nice smile on my face, like, well put together. Our society would think. But by that time at 5, life had already hurt me. Life had already harmed me. At only 5 years old, I had went through everything from, essay to physical to mental, emotional. I had went through everything. But you wouldn't see that from you just see this pretty little chocolate girl, little twists and my barrettes and stuff in my hair. You see the smile on my face, like you see that. But I know, and I knew that was a abused child. That was a hurting child. That was a child that didn't know what life had in front of me. I didn't know what life was. I didn't know what life was going to be. I didn't know what life was going to look like. The people that were supposed to be in life to set me up for success and prepare me for great, my mom, my stepfather, my biological dad, all these people, these were the exact same people that were abusing me and failing me and harming me. And there's not enough safe spaces in society for those of us that have had those experiences to talk about, right? Like we don't have spaces that people truly understand when you have to separate from your family, from your biological family, or guardians or whatever, in order to heal, right? Like people in society don't get that, no matter how much we talk about it, because the spaces aren't safe enough, and there's a lot of judgment and ignorances and things of that nature. So for me, I knew, and I know, looking at that picture is just a constant reminder of like the things that we see and we hear about, unfortunately, once people are no longer here with us due to one reason or another. But when you be like, oh, but she was smiling all the time, or she was happy all the time, like I am somebody that can witness and attest to that may not always be what that smile is representative of, or what that looks like, so I had to fight through so much. And because of that, that built up the resilience that I have on today, that makes me, the absolute best candidate to fight for community And I'm not even saying that from a political space. I don't care what space it is. It makes that the best for me, because I know what it looks like to have to keep getting up and to keep pushing, even when you want to give up, even when like nothing is going in your favor. I'll share in this space because I appreciate a few weeks ago. I don't know if you had yet asked me to do your live already, Gina, but I think you had. But point was, I didn't share with people throughout my campaign run all of the stuff I had went through in just recent years. So even with my mom being as harmful and toxic as she was still my mom, right? So people that have experienced hurt and harm by our family, we know what that means. So when my mom passed, she passed January of 2019. It broke something in me, because that still was my biological mom, even though she was not a healthy person, right? We physically feel the loss of our biological mother. I don't know about our father because my dad's still alive, but when your mom, your biological mom passes away, you physically feel it. Like, and so that was in January of 2019. And then in April of 2019, a man that, was very much so well respected by me, who later ended up being my child's grandfather, he passed. So just 3 months later, I went through another significant loss. And then I had experienced my first pregnancy in November of 2019. Well, my son passed April of 2020. So in the height of the world, the pandemic, as everybody was struggling with their health and their concerns, this and this and that, we were isolated, we were sheltered in and all of this stuff. I was experiencing a loss of a child. And that is a very difficult, ugly space to experience, no matter where you're at in life. But on top of like a pandemic and being limited, you can't go around people. You can't, like, there was just so many things happening and moving in that. And so I say that for a million different reasons, but one of the reasons I'm saying that is because stop being so quick to judge people, and stop being so quick to just think and look at people as like, oh, this person's ghetto. Oh, this person's yelling, this person. You don't know what that person has gone through. You have absolutely no idea. So you don't know why that person stands up and advocates the way that they do. You have no idea why that person refuses to back down the way that they do. Okay? Like you have no idea. I'm saying that because when you look at a case, let's go there, like, Carmelo's, you don't know what that child has gone through. You have no idea. So to sit there and say, well, he should have just walked. No, the hell, he shouldn't have just walked away. Nobody should have made him feel like they were superior to him and that they had the right to bully him and to mistreat him and to force him out of a space. They had no right to do that because they don't know what that child went through on any given day previous to that moment. And on that moment, he decided in his mind he was not going to be bullied anymore. He decided in his mind he was not going to allow society to treat him as less than, whether it was due to his skin, his race, his color, his socioeconomic status. We don't know what that child went through. I say that because society, no matter how much I fought and advocated for everybody, you guys didn't know what I went through. You guys did not know why or how I was moving and operating the way that I was. It's unimportant to the campaign because I still was going to show up the way that I was, but my mom had 9 kids. 6 of those siblings of mine, they are brown. Okay, they're biracial kids. Their grandfather was an undocumented person from Mexico to America. It wouldn't have changed the way that I advocate because I truly believe in Black and brown unity, but my own siblings, 6 of them, their grandfather was undocumented in America to the day he passed away several years ago. If he had still been alive during this, my own sibling's grandfather could have been snatched up and thrown up out of here at the hands of ICE doing what it did. So you'd never know someone's background and story. Looking at Gina, you would have not ever known that her grandfather, because that's who that man was to her, was a Black man. So you can't just jump on board and think and assume things about people. When I fight and move the way that I do for kids, it's because, like I said, nobody knew what I knew about myself at 5 years old, the hurt and the harm that I went through. Nobody knows that I lost a son. So I am always going to fight and protect a child. And I don't care if that child is Asian, white, Filipino, Mexican, like it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to fight and protect children because no one fought and protected me the way that I needed to be fought and protected for. And I always keep in mind, if it was my child, if it was my baby, man. So you have to keep that in mind as a society, as a people. There's so many things I will be doing and moving forward with the future campaigns, but I like, conversations and discussions like this, because I'm transparent. I'm an open book. I never was like hiding conversations or things from people. It was just sometimes certain things is like on a need to know basis, right? And throughout the campaign, there was just not a need for everybody to know these different things. Some people knew there were certain conversations I had, but I wanted to bring that up to you, Gina, because I don't remember again if you had invited me to your live or not. But I remember when I seen that, it was just like, it is so crazy how in life and in society, we won't know what someone has went through. We won't know what someone has experienced. And if we would just sit down and begin to have conversations with each other, we would realize how many things we literally have in common. Like, we would literally just realize that, and that in and of itself could solve so many prejudices, so much, racism, so many ignorances, so many biases about people, so many stereotypes, if we just sit down and just have a freaking conversation. But we don't do that enough. And that goes back to that putting people over politics, like I said. It comes back to all of these conversations. So that was a deep question. And even though I said it very simple, just know that, like I said, I talk to little Shonique all the time because little Shonique went through a lot. And little Shonique is actually who technically fights for you guys. It's me, the 35-year-old version of me, but it's little Shonique that had the thoughts and the dreams and the passion and that desire to not let little Shonique's dreams die, those passions die. Like, that is what caused me to push forward and to fight for you all in the days where I'm sitting here and it's like, dang, I did all of that and I didn't win the campaign. Like, maybe I shouldn't run for an office again. Like, if I don't have those thoughts, but if those thoughts came about, the way that I would combat that would be to have a conversation with little Shonique, and it would be like, well, what if you would have gave up on you? Like, what if you would have gave up on you? There was a point in time where it was nobody but little Shonique and God. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So when we learn to just move forward in humanity and grace for all people, regardless of our color, our background, like all of that, socioeconomic status, and we learn to move forward in grace with all people, that's where their healing begins. If you have not ever participated in therapy, I encourage everybody to get in touch with a therapist. I'm very, very big on therapy for myself. Somebody watching this, as this goes up on the YouTube and stuff, it's like, how did I do it? How did I do it? Number one is God. I am a Christian. I am a firm believer in Jesus Christ. Number two is therapy. Okay. Like, yes, have Jesus, but have a therapist too. Okay. And that's stigmas we have to pull down in all communities, but especially in Black community. You can be a devoted Christian and still go to therapy. Therapy is what kept me sane when I thought that I could not do it, when doctors couldn't determine if I was struggling with postpartum depression, regular grief and loss, like they could not determine. I had ignorant people on the campaign all the time. Well, why is she always walking around with that dog? Like, what? First of all, Comfort, as beautiful as he is, don't play with my baby, but Comfort is a service animal. I didn't have to share my story, my journey, and my experience to explain. Common sense, his vest always said service animal. Okay, I am diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? And I am diagnosed with anxiety. I never talked about it on my campaign because I didn't need to. All I needed to do was advocate for people that experience mental health disorder or mental health illness. That's all I needed to do, because while I didn't need to tell you my personal story, all you needed to know is people that experience mental health disorder deserve the same advocacy as somebody with a different disability, okay? Like that's it. So a lot of things you see me advocating and fighting for, please know there's a story behind it, even if I don't take the time to sit down and break it down and explain it to you. But at the exact same time, I will say, moving forward with my campaigns in the future, again, it was never me trying to hide anything or not have certain conversations. I realized, like, some of this stuff you do have to have conversation for. And especially as women, Black and brown women, especially, I think sometimes because of the difficulties we've gone through in life, like, we unfortunately look at like our story sometimes as like, if we talk about it, and I'm speaking more so for myself and people that I know, sometimes I think we look at our story as like, oh, if we share it, like we're, looking for sympathy, or we're whining or we're complaining because that's what society taught us or told us. And it's like, no, sometimes you're just building community. Sometimes people just need to know. So when Gina shared her story of her baby, I messaged Gina and I let her know about my son. But I hadn't ever spoken with her about that before. But in that moment, I found it necessary to tell one grieving mother, hey, I don't have all the answers for you. But what I do want you to know is I'm praying for you. I care and I do understand. And that's how you move forward in society. Sometimes it's just a matter of letting someone know, I hear you, I see you, I'm here for you. Let me know what that support looks like. Misha, if you guys recall earlier, she was saying she's a former foster child just like me. I don't remember how her and I had like ended up discussing that, if it was on somebody's live or what, but those kind of conversations, those are different things that happen sometimes that made me realize, wait a minute, unfortunately, but fortunately, I went through so many different things in life. I've lived so many different lifetimes in this one life. People wouldn't understand. Like, what candidate do you know, what elected official do you know that went through the welfare system, foster care system, literally incarcerated in state prison for a crime they didn't commit, lost a child? Like, I've gone through SHIT. And so if I would actually sit down and have a conversation with society, with humanity, with people, and explain, I've gone through this, and that is why I know I will be the best voice for you in this elected seat. I did my best to do that, but I definitely see how I would do a better job going forward for other elected offices. But at the same time, I don't want my traumas to also be like sympathy votes either, right? That's a hard balance, because I don't want someone voting for me because of the things that I've gone through in life. I want someone voting for me because of the things I've went through in life, and the fact that I know how to now navigate these systems, how to move and operate in these rooms, and how to get us the help and the resources we need. I can speak about Black maternal death rates because I was a mother that went through that. Okay. Like, I can speak about these things. I can speak about foster care because that is something I went through. It's funny, Daisy, people do ask me to write a book. People have asked me to write a book. People have asked me to write a movie. Like, I have been in so many rooms and spaces, had so many blessed opportunities the past decade. I've done a lot that the campaign never had the capability to highlight. And it's one of those things where you just try to figure out, like, what is the best way to move into to advocate, what will be the best way to do that. So that goes back to, like I said, I genuinely mean it when I ask people right now, hey, would I be best as a US Senator for you, or would I be best as a president for you? I'm really asking the question because I really want to find myself in a space where I'm being the best voice for the people. I don't care about the elected seats, to be honest. I know the power and the influence they have to make change, but I want to always be where the people are at. Anybody that saw my post the other day, I'm like, hey, the reason I'm not speaking up on so many things happening in the Black community right now, the harms happening to us, is because I'm a Black person before anything. Okay. I was Black before I was Christian. I was Black before I was a woman. I was Black before anything. So for me, it's like, is we outside with it, or what is we doing? Because after too much talking, like, my brain don't function. It's like, we can't do too much talking. Little do you guys realize, I argue and I yell, but I really be ready to fight. So with that being said,
I love that.
I just want us to take a time, a breath as society, get into therapy, you guys, like, talk to the little boy and the little girl in you, because that was such a beautiful, profound question from Gina. But it really does a healing within us, because I was not always able to talk to the little girl in me, because there was shame there was hurt, there was guilt, there was betrayal, there was so many things. I felt like I had failed the little girl in me, right? And then as I began to heal and to move forward, and just continuously accomplish goals and stuff like that, I was able to be the parent that I didn't have. I was able to be, that guardian I didn't have. I was able to be that support that I didn't have in my own life, but also in the life of people, around me. And then always just make sure you're finding a safe space. Sometimes it might be a random person on social media, and the connection could be great. Take people up on that. There are people that genuinely mean it when they say, hey, message me at any time. Hey, call me at any time. Hey, reach out. There are people that genuinely mean that and would prefer that you do that than to make a poor decision that could, permanently take you from the world.
Right. Man, you give the most in-depth, profound answers. Thank you for that. I brought Saji up. Welcome in, Saji. Because of your live, I was able to listen and hear Miss Shonique. She's freaking amazing. She is an abundance of knowledge and inspiration. So thank you for that. So I figured, why not bring you up? I don't know if you have any questions for her, but I just kind of wanted to give you your flowers, and then we'll let you take it away. Welcome, everybody. I'm not sure if she's Sachi. Thank you, Maya. Shonique, did you want to say something, Mama? I saw you unmuted.
Oh, no, no, no. I actually was just writing into everybody and unmuted accidentally. Hi, Saji.
Oh.
Hi, Maya Ken. Y'all, we got to shout out Maya Ken because literally the only reason I knew to attend anyone's live, TikTok, whatever, because I didn't know how to operate it is because he had came and told me one day that Jess and Saji were talking about me in a live, one of the videos. So that's how I came to the TikTok space was because of Maya Ken.
Yeah, she's lagging. She is lagging. Is she lagging for you too, Shonique?
Yeah, it's showing she only has one bar. And then for us, it
Um,
looks like she's on mute, but then I'm hearing her
Yeah.
voice at times.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yes, yes. Coming in good now. I think, did I speak too soon?
Okay.
There we go.
It might be lagging, but I can hear you.
We hear you now.
I just wanted to say to what you said, Shonique. I think it's so important, and I was actually thinking about this today. I think a lot of times people look at our profile picture, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. A lot of times people look at our profile picture, they might hear 30 seconds of what we say. They might meet us on a panel or at an event and assume our entire life. And it's just crazy that you or anybody feels like they need to explain their story to people that don't know them. Like, bitch, why you gotta know my most profound secret and I don't even know your favorite color? Like, why do I owe you the deepest parts of me when you are not somebody that I even know to that extent? So I feel like everybody has their story and you should share that with who you want to or when you want to. Just because you're a public figure, just because you are on social media spaces, that does not mean that you need to disclose everything about yourself. I think it's kind of the expectation that, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok has put on people. Like, they're like, what did you do today? Did you wipe your ass once, twice, 3 times? Did you use a bidet? Like, people are out here doing fucking YouTube videos with them with like a swimming suit on just to record themselves taking a shower to do their day to day. Like, it has become a little bit extreme. Just because you don't know every part of my story doesn't mean that I'm fake. Just because somebody doesn't know every part of your story doesn't mean you're fake. It's just everybody's going to share with who they want when they want. For me, this is kind of off topic on topic. I have always known I was bisexual since I was literally 5 years old. That was not something I shared with my own family till I was 26. Now, once I shared with my family and friends, I pretty much told everybody, I don't care. There are people who are going through their journey, even with their sexuality or how they identify, who might tell one person, right? Happy Pride, by the way, y'all. Who might just tell one person, and just because that one person knows doesn't mean you gotta go around saying I'm gay, I'm bi, or hey, I lost a family member, or my friend went through this. Like, that was what I wanted to say. And then two, I hate the phrase hurt people, because a lot of hurt people also heal people. It is because of the things that we have went through, because of the fucking shit that we have had to deal alone, right? That some people like us want to make sure that everybody has a shoulder to lean on, that everybody has resources to turn to, that everybody has the information and the support that they might need. But it's not because we come from a position of having experienced that. Sometimes it's because we didn't experience that, because we didn't have support, we didn't have resources, we hadn't found our voice, maybe, that we couldn't get there. And so for me, and I landed with this because I'm not trying to center myself. I'm just like, what you ladies have been sharing has resonated so much. What I like to do in my personal, like in my space, right, in my life, is offer help to members of our community. Some members want to disclose their name and what they're working for or what they need. Some members don't, right? But for me, it was so important to be able to be that person for Black, brown, and indigenous men and women, to be able to say, hey, I'm fucking struggling. I'm struggling, and no circumstance is too silly, no amount is too little or too big. If you had the guts, if you went, because let's be real, it is hard to ask for help for a lot of us. So if you went out of your way and asked for help, it is, for me, my personal mission, my life's purpose, to be able to help and to show you that it is okay to ask for help, and that sometimes you don't gotta get on your knees, you don't gotta bow down, you don't gotta put your hands up. Sometimes we are each other's answers to our prayers. We are what we've been praying for. There is help. There is somebody that is coming. There is a shoulder to cry on. And I just love you, ladies. This has been a beautiful life.
Thank you, Saji. And I'll echo and say I agree that people get too consumed in the lives of those that they deem public figures. It's funny because I've shared with like Saji and other people. I don't care to ever tell social media my business. I haven't ever posted anybody I dated. I mean, ever. Okay. And again, I'm 35, y'all. So I'm talking about MySpace and all that. No, I'm not married. So why would you ever see the face of a spouse of mine on my social medias? That don't, to me, it ain't none of your business. So I've never posted nobody that I've dated. I've never posted nobody I've been in a relationship with. Like, I just don't care to do that. I had to learn to start filming and taking pictures on the campaign trail, because unfortunately, as Saji said, society will sit here and think if you're not posting it, you're not doing it. And it's like, that's not how that works. Like, but okay, but society does think that. So unfortunately, because society thinks that when you find yourself in certain spaces, even if you want to remain private and keep certain things to yourself, I'm realizing it is counterproductive. I don't regret the way that I moved on this campaign, but there is, parts of me that feel like some people did need to see, oh, this person has this in common with me. Not because, I'm not talking about the people that just were trying to be nosy, but I'm saying for the people that didn't see a connection to me on the surface, right? For, whether that person was Black, brown, or otherwise, some people didn't see a connection with me, based on the content. Even though it should be everyone's fight and everyone should be involved, there were some brown people that saw the advocacy and the support that I did for brown community, whether, ICE or whatever, right? But for them, they didn't see a connection, because unfortunately, as you all know, some of you all that are here as brown people, there are even brown people that don't feel like that has anything to do with them. Oh, we're documented. Oh, so for them, there is a disconnection. As unfortunate and ignorant as it is, there's a disconnection to the harm that ICE does to the community. So those kind of community members needed, wanted, whether it was conscious or subconscious, me to connect with them on something that was important to them. I don't agree with that personally. I don't agree with that because I feel like, one person's struggle should be the next person's struggle. Just because I have a house, a home to call my own, that doesn't mean that I don't feel for unhoused people. Just because I have food to eat doesn't mean I don't feel for people that, are starving. But some people, as twisted as they are, they need to know that you care about their direct struggle. And if their direct struggle is only gas prices, guess what? No matter how good of a candidate you are, they only want to hear you talk about gas prices because that's all that matters to them. It's ugly, it's twisted, it's jacked up, but that is how a lot of our society is. And unfortunately, that is how, Trump and his administration, Republicans, that is how they get through to people, because they find those one little small nuances that should not be glorified that much, and that's what they do. Unfortunately, we had a lot of Americans that were struggling with unemployment. We had a lot of Americans that were struggling with stable income even while working. So you had someone ignorant like Trump come along and say, oh, I have an answer. The answer is going to be to get all undocumented people out. And it's like, okay, those of us with sense know that that was not ever the answer. But the ignorant people, they wanted a solution. So for them, that made sense. Oh yeah, they're here taking our jobs. But the funny part about it is, it's like, what jobs are they taking? When you ask somebody that believes Trump and his lies, you always ask them, well, what job do the undocumented people take from you? They don't ever have a straightforward answer. And even the jobs that they name, it's like, but wait a minute, you never worked there before, or you never tried working there before. So it's not even correlating, right? But I say that to say it's twisted, because that's why politics is ugly. And it wasn't something that, because for me, it's always going to be people over politics. So I don't want to have to be so small and nuanced in my conversation to be talking about gas prices when we literally have people being unalived. Like, I don't care about the gas prices right now. They're there. I don't want to pay them either. But why are we talking about gas prices when there are people being unalived? Like that doesn't make sense to me. But some people genuinely do not care about those people being unalived because, well, it ain't got nothing to do with me. It didn't happen to my city. It didn't happen to my state. It didn't happen to my neighbor. It didn't happen to my kid. So for them, it does not matter, as sick and twisted as that is. So I 100% agree with Saji. And at the exact same time, it's still a challenge that when you're running for elected office, you have to figure out, because even though you don't want to put people in all your business, or you don't want to be focused on one issue, there are people that are one issue voters, and there are people that need to have you connect to them on their little small world of concerns that are disassociated with the rest of society.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you for being up here. And I know that we're a little bit past our time, but it's okay. I think it was worth it. I really appreciate it. 6 months from now, we're gonna come back and we're gonna hear all the great things that you've accomplished. And I wanna hear and keep up to date with your bar exam and see how that goes. I'm super excited for you. Thank you to everybody who is here today. You guys are amazing. With that being said, we can conclude it. And until the next time.
Yeah, thank you to the mods. I'm not sure who was all mods today, but thank you too.
Yes. Shout out to all the amazing mods and everybody who's coming in and out. If you guys missed it, like I know Saji missed it, if you guys missed it, I will have it uploaded by Wednesday for sure, and then I'll share it out. So if you guys missed it, you can catch the entire thing on our YouTube. Make sure you guys tap in. We have had some amazing women so far. If you guys don't follow TIPM, follow TIPM-26 on YouTube. It's under the Matriarchal Voices playlist, and it's all the women that we've interviewed so far. So with that being said, thank you so much, Miss Shonique. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to be here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gina. Looking forward to you making yourself the future Esquire.
Yes.
We will talk about that. I'm not going to let up on you. We will talk about that. Thank you, everybody that tuned in, everybody that's going to be watching the reposting on YouTube. Feel free. I swear, if you are not a YT supremacist, you will have a great conversation with me. So feel free, DM me at any time, any platform, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, I'm available. It's always me you're getting a response from, never a staff member. So reach out at any time, ask questions, politically related or otherwise. Thank you, community.
I will see you guys later. Make sure that you love on each other, love on the people around you, and do something for yourself. We're living in some crazy times under this administration, and just period. If you're from a marginalized community, our very existence is resistance. So make sure you do something for yourself and love on the people around you. I cannot say that enough. We only get this life and this soul and this body one time. So make sure that we're doing all the good things that we should be doing. I will catch you guys later. Thank you, Miss Shonique.